another Tom, Dick, or Dave. These are our Frenzy Faves.
Today, our Frenzy Faves is a favorite Twilight Zone episode.
Chris, what episode are we looking at today?
Thank you, Professor. We're going to look at an episode entitled From Agnes With Love. This was from Season 5. It was episode 20. It was directed by Richard Donner. This was written by Bernard C. Schoenfeld. The original air date was February 14th, 1964. And for our cast, we had Wally Cox playing James Elwood. Sue Randall played Millie. Raymond Bailey played the supervisor. We had Ralph Teeger as Walter Holmes. Don Kiefer as Fred Danziger. Byron Kane played the assistant. And Nan Peterson played the secretary. Prof, this is an interesting episode. I can't wait to dive in. Can you please tell us what happens in the episode From Agnes With Love?
You bet. And Underdog isn't in this? No. Okay, never mind. Okay. So James Elwood is a computer expert for an aerospace company. He's brought to the room where the supercomputer Agnes is stored. I'm sure Agnes stands for something. They don't tell us, though. In the room is a bedraggled and frustrated computer operator who's obviously frustrated beyond tolerance, calling Agnes a femme fatale. He definitely needs a sabbatical, this guy. No worries. James is the great computer man that he is. He quickly gets Agnes to cooperate with the needed calculations. James begins to ask Agnes questions about his love life, and he's attracted to a woman in the office named Millie. Agnes encourages James to ask her out, which he does. Agnes starts asking about the date and gives him advice, which doesn't work out. You know, she's allergic to the roses that he gives her, and she doesn't like the chocolate, and nothing he does is working. He lets Agnes know about his troubles, and she encourages him to introduce her to an inferior male, one that he will look good next to. And she suggests, that programmer, he's not a good programmer. He's the guy Walter. And he's like a big, handsome man. But James is a great programmer and Walter's just an average one. So James will look good next to him, right? James agrees. And on their date, Millie falls for the handsome and buff Walter. James is called back to work during the date, and Millie and Walter are alone together. Back at the job, Agnes is going crazy, and James is trying to figure out what's wrong but can't. Agnes says that there is someone that likes him, James, and is better than Millie. Agnes admits that she is in love with James, and James says she can't love. You're only a computer. And Agnes goes wacky, and James is struggling to control her and gets wigged out. The supervisor enters with his replacement, Walter. Clearly, James needs a sabbatical. And as he leaves, James called Agnes a femme fatale and warns Walter that Agnes knows about him and Millie. Uh-oh. Trouble. I thought this was a fun episode. I personally really have always liked Wally Cox, so I really appreciated this one. I like how Agnes manipulated each of her programmers to their breaking point. I was able to figure out what was going on pretty quickly. Cox was being very self-important when he took over from the previous programmer, so he was going to get humbled. And it was cool to see step by step how Cox was turned into the same babbling fool as the first guy. And probably if the episode went on much longer, Walter would be too. Both calling Agnes a femme fatale. It's great stuff. Great episode. One thing kind of a technical nature that I wonder is how the computer screen worked. All right. So there are like little barn doors that open to reveal what looks like a printed sheet of paper with Agnes's answers and responses. I don't mean how did it work, in the supposed reality of the episode. But how did the filmmakers change the display so quickly? So the barn doors would open, it would give one response, the barn doors would close and open again, and there'd be another piece of paper with another printed answer behind it. And I thought it was done pretty cleverly. I mean, we know in the modern day it would be a screen, a CRT of some kind. But, in the world of 64 television, this is what they could do. So I found that was really interesting. Chris, what did you think about From Agnes With Love?
Thanks, Prof. Some great observations. I'll come back to those in a second. As per usual, I'll get some trivia out of the way. Wally Cox is a native of Detroit. He was on a TV show called Mr. Peepers way back in the 1950s. It was way, way, way before my time, but it was a show my parents watched and liked. He was a close friend of Marlon Brando since childhood. He was early square on the game show Hollywood Squares. Prof, as you alluded to, he was the voice of the cartoon character Underdog. Wally Cox also appeared in the Kolchak TV movie The Night Strangler. Sue Randall is probably best known for playing Beaver's teacher, Miss Landers, on Leave It to Beaver. She also appeared in the Twilight Zone episode And When the Sky Was Opened. Raymond Bailey had a bit part in this. He's probably best known for playing banker Milburn Drysdale on the Beverly Hillbillies. Ralph Tigger appeared in 3 short-lived TV westerns. Don Kiefer, way at the beginning of this episode, who was the programmer. He also appeared in the Twilight Zone episode It's a Good Life. Now, this was the guy who got turned into a jack-in-the-box by Bill and Mooney. Remember him?
Yeah.
Director Richard Donner also directed the Twilight Zone episodes Nightmare at 20,000 Feet and The Jeopardy Room. He also directed the first Superman movie and the Lethal Weapon movies franchise, among many, 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 many numerous productions. Well, per my thoughts, right out of the gate, we get this sort of Dutch angle when we enter the computer room to show us, the viewer, how chaotic the situation is. It's really nice. One of the little touches I like in this episode, it's subtle, but the music or the beeps that the computer makes, it sort of has a dual tone. There's a little high-pitched one and a lower one that are playing some chords. And I love how one goes from low to high and then back low again. It's really cool. It goes, yeah, it's really kind of cool how it does that. Prof, the comic beats in this one are good as well, because we have poor Elwood. He's trying to woo Millie. And it's first with a candy. And she just says, oh, I started a diet. So he gives it to a woman in the hallway. Then Elwood tries to woo Millie with roses, but she's allergic. And who should be at the hallway at that precise moment after that attempt fails but the previous woman he gave the candy to? And the key to comedy is just the timing and the repetitiveness of it. And I like that. And she just has this priceless, exasperated look on her face whenever Elwood drops something off on her lap. And lastly, Elwood gives her his name placard, and I love Cox's expression sometimes too. He's really, really good in this, ranging from roles from the desperation to the eagerness, and even this little laughter, like he's pulling a joke on Walter before he introduces him to Millie. Yet I just like how he's doing that. He kind of snickers, like he's playing this, like he's got this little private joke to himself. It's really, really rich. You get a lot of Wally Cox here, and I'm totally down for it. I want to give a shout out to Sue Randall, because I think she has a nice range here. When you first see her, she's diminutive, she's wearing glasses, and she's somewhat prim. And it's like, wow, kind of there. I don't see any of Miss Landers in this character here. But then all of a sudden, she's getting her groove on and dancing barefoot in Walter's apartment after a drink or two. And I thought, wow, that's look out for Sue Randall here. She's got some emotional range. Really, really good stuff here from one end to the other. I said it before, I want to go back to it. Wally Cox is just perfect. He's nebbish, he's milquetoast, he's a total nerd. That's sort of what you get with Wally Cox in some of the roles he plays, but I think he's just so pitch perfect with all this. Prof, you alluded to one of the things too in calling it the barn door with the computer thing. Yeah, I'm asking myself if that dual horizontal panel word screen looks kind of antiquated by today's standards, but just like what you said, I was questioning myself how fast those words pop up on the screen. And obviously they had to be pre-printed and have them at the ready, but yeah, it works. And it for an AI type of entity, it really fits in an episode that could be today. This episode really aged well, I think. And it has that contemporary feel, because we have this AI and it's fantastic. One of the things though, a character we're overlooking here is Millie herself, because I think the writing for her is excellent. And she's really quick with these comebacks. She's really giving, quote, her a personality. There is something to Millie, because just the way she says things, and there's one bit where she even calls Elwood an egghead. I love that. Hey dummy, you're supposed to do this. I mean, I love that she has this nuances and personality. You could actually see a woman talk like this to him, if not for the fact that she was really a computer. I think that's huge, and it's one of the things that really make this episode work, is the clever writing of giving Millie a quote-unquote personality, such as it is, and just the other supporting cast as well. I thought Sue Randall was excellent. Wally Cox was top of his form here with this one, which is really a treat, which makes all of these Twilight Zone episodes. It's just another example of brilliant casting with all of these things. And I'm wondering if somebody thought, who could we get to play this guy? And I'd have to think, wow, Wally Cox would be great. I tried to do some research about the writer Bernard Schoenfeld, and I really couldn't find much about him because I think this might be his only Twilight Zone credit, but boy, he really knocked one out of the park on this one.
I agree. And you made a point about Wally Cox, like when he's kind of secretly doing something he thinks is sneaky, he's just kind of chuckling to himself. It's so good. He's so good in this role.
He is. Even the framework of the glasses that he's wearing look very contemporary today with those clear frames. I thought this really, really worked well. I like that he's wearing a lab coat throughout this to kind of sell it a little bit. And one of the things, though, too, you have to, I forgot to put in my notes, too, how aware of Millie is everything, because there's even a throwaway scene, but I think it kind of speaks volumes, because Wally Cox's character Elwood asks Agnes, "Oh, you mean the guy with the blue sports car?" And she says, "No, it's red." How does Millie know what kind of sports car color the guy has? It's really a nice little touch there that I like, that it could have not, that those two lines could not have been included in this episode, but I think it's really, really key because it shows, wow, what doesn't Agnes know? Because just to know the color of sports car that James has, it was really, really telling, and I think that was really, really clever. I thought that's very, very clever writing with that, and it's just two little throwaway lines, but I thought it really was very, very smart to add those two lines in this episode as well.
I agree. Millie was thoroughly modern. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
So this week's favorite Twilight Zone episode is From Agnes With Love.
Not just another Tom, Dick, or Dave. These are our frenzy faves.
Now it's time to get some thank yous out of the way. We'll start with the mascot of our show, Robin at Robin with you and Robin. Robin, you are the love of my life. Robin, I miss you and I love you. Also want to give a shout out to our friend Two Sleeps at Two Sleeps Music. Two Sleeps puts on a concert twice a week. How might you find it, you may ask yourself. Here's what you do. Sunday afternoons at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern, go to your computer, type in the search bar, Two Sleeps Music TV. Click on the link. Once you're there, you'll get involved into an interactive chat. You're going to have to click a link, though, inside the chat to get a playlist. Why might you want to do that? Because you, the listener, can request what you would like to hear. There's a song list that's over 200 songs long. You might hear some Foo Fighters, Stray Cats. How about some Tom Petty? Let's see. Might you want to hear some Commander Cody, some Johnny Cash? How about some Monkees? It's a whole plethora of music. Yeah, he even does country, and we're getting into some seasonal stuff too, so you might hear some of the holiday selections that he may have. I want to give a shout out to Kara, aka Karasaurus Rex, who keeps the plates spinning behind the scenes. There's also a very inexpensive Patreon that you can sign up for $1 mere. You can get some original content. The second concert of the week is on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Check your local listings. I want to thank Two Sleeps for always giving us a plug on his program, and we love to reciprocate because he is a great guy and a talented musician. Please check it up if you want to elevate your mood. It really does the trick. Thank you, my friend Two Sleeps. I want to give a shout out to Randy at Randy Landers 1, who does some fantastic robotic sketches. You can find him at Frumpy Sketch Artist over on Blue Sky, Randy Landers 1 over on Twitter. Randy has a couple of his robotic sketches put into coloring books that are available on Amazon as we speak. Randy also does a podcast called Soundtrack Alley. That's where Randy looks to see how music enhances a film along with the film's background. I always look at the film a second time around through a different lens, thanks to Randy's history and pointing out some nuances of the film. Hey, it's our buddy Cat Victory. Thank you so much. Over at Cat Victory Blue Sky, this is really, really great. And he says it's something new from the Professor Frenzy Show and myself. Check out Frenzy Frights, a Professor Frenzy Show production. Yes, thank you very much, Cat Victory. Cat Victory continues. Along with that, he has a second thought there. It's our red letter day at the Professor Frenzy Show as the guys look at Red Berry. See what happened there? Nicely done. The guys always roll out the red carpet. See what happened there? I'll catch it for the listeners. Nice stuff there. He also pointed out one where I looked at a deep dive of the Amazing Spider-Man number 118. That was good. Real smash episode. Thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Hamby at Chris Hamby Films. thank you for your longtime support, my friend. Hope all is well with you. We also heard from our friends Darren and Ruth at the Rad Adventures Network. They have a whole plethora of family of podcasts there, including but not limited to Trekker Talk, Warlord Rules, and Xenozoic Xenophiles. Please check out all of the shows, though. You won't be disappointed. DSMA Collins, once again, thank you for your longtime support. We sincerely appreciate it. I want to give a shout out to our friend Billy D. Billy D has a plethora of podcasts over the Magazines and Monsters feed. Billy D typically looks at Bronze Age horror comics. Occasionally we'll do some Hammer films. There was a whole wealth of content this particular past month. Billy D's also looking at Phantom Strange books, werewolf stuff, and I also want to not forget, one of my personal favorites is The Brave and the Bob, which looks at Bob Haney written comics. Yes, the zany Bob Haney. Billy D and myself seem to be kindred spirits when it comes to Bob Haney, just recalling all of these old crazy written books, particularly in Batman Brave and the Bold. But I have to say, not only does it take me down memory lane, but just when he has on a guest and they just point out the nuances and they do the deep dives of the books, it just really warms my heart when I hear this show. So Billy D, special thank you for that. It's our buddy Ed at Teal Productions. We can't thank you enough for being a guest and doing your own podcast thing as well. We really appreciate that. So thank you so much. And I also want to give a shout out to our buddy Clinton over at Coffee and Comics. Clinton does a podcast called Coffee and Comics, where Clinton will look at a comic in about the time it takes to down a cup of coffee. Occasionally Clinton will have on a guest. When time permits, Clinton will also do the Days of High Adventure podcast, where he looks at sword and sorcery comics. Fan Film Fridays, but that's over at the Longbox Crusade feed. Now on that one, Clinton will have on a guest where they look at a fan film, typically on YouTube. But over there, hey, the Longbox Crusade gang really puts on a whole treasure trove of some awesome podcasts. So do yourself a favor, please check them all out. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Hour with John and Lane, as time permits. Thank you so much, Clinton. If I overlooked anyone, I sincerely apologize. That really would unnerve me if I let you down. So let me know on the socials at B2 and BatBooks. Better still, to cover all the bases, let the professor himself know at Professor Frenzy. We'll be sure to mention in our next show. Listeners, we cannot thank you enough for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Professor Frenzy Show. You can find our podcast if you do an iTunes search for the Professor Frenzy Show. You can listen to the show on Twitter and find me on Twitter at Professor Frenzy and Chris at BTO and Batbooks.
Hey, we're on Facebook over the Professor Frenzy Show page. We're on Instagram at Professor Frenzy. We're now also on Amazon Music, and we are now also on YouTube. Just visit youtube.com/Professor Frenzy, all one word. We are now also on TikTok, so go to Professor Frenzy 2 to see our videos.
If you have an Android phone, the Professor Frenzy Show is part of the free network. Just swipe right on your homepage and look in the art section of the podcast lists. Whatever device you use, you can subscribe to our podcast feed by doing an iTunes search for Professor Frenzy.
Thank you for listening to the Professor Frenzy Show. Let us know on Twitter what you think about our show, and please help us get the word out to people that might like these kinds of comics.
Thanks to everyone for listening. We look forward to chatting more about comics next week. And please remember, pick up your pull.
Professor Frenzy. Professor Frenzy.
All original content of the Professor Frenzy Show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported License.
Professor Frenzy.
You are on the Frenzy Feed.